here. S&P data from their website. Keep going back to see whether they update this table. I wouldn't be able to find out this. Now this is bankruptcy rate. Cumulative default rate 81 to 2006, right before market crash in 2007 and 8. Now, if you pick one firm and that firm is AAA, the chance of that AAA firm filing bankruptcy within 5 years, 0.3%. 0.3%. Over 15 years, less than 1%. Less than 1%. 1.3, 2.8. Look at here, investment grade. If you pick one firm 15 years ago, that firm filing bankruptcy, Chapter 11, 15 years later, 7.9%. But look at what happened to jump bond. This jump. See? Monetary increase here, they jump, and jump. Here. So if you invest in the jump bond in this rate, 15-year period, more than half of the chance, it will file bankruptcy. So how much interest they pay for financing? 40%, 45%, 50% a year. If you are lucky enough to save for 2 years, you recover all the money, right? You get 50% back, 50% back. After 2 years, whatever they pay is purely interest income. That's why accounting for jump bond. Anyone remember accounting for jump bond from intermediate or financial reporting class? Jump bond. What accounting you use for jump bond? Jump bond. Post recovery. Post recovery method. In other words, you don't recognize any interest income until you recover 100% of the cost. Cost recovery account. I invest for, let's say, $1 million in here. First 2-3 years until you recover 100% of the cost. That's how risky this is. You don't recognize any risk because they file bankruptcy right away. And this percentage is before 2006. So after that, we don't know because after 2006, financial crisis right here. So well, this is S&P data. I didn't make up. I just downloaded from there. And global default study. See, interest rate. So they charge huge interest rate here. So if Verizon and BBB+, Sean finds out Verizon has a BBB+. So they are right here. If they go here, interest rate will jump. 5 billion, I don't think so. They will have to pay much more than 5 billion. Even they downgraded in one notch. One notch will. Now I find out this file, and one item we have to look at is this. Leases. See, Best Buy show capital lease of total $52 billion. Capital lease. So they put $52 billion on the asset and liability. How much they are leasing under operating lease? $3,876 million. In other words, how many times? I don't even. This one over this one. About 50. 600 times?
Yeah.
This is less, well, this is much less than 1%, right? Look, they are leasing all these prime real estate locations across the country. And they say they don't owe anything. They don't have any asset. Don't they make money from selling their merchandise there? So, once you convert this into, your job is convert this into capital lease and put everything together onto balance sheet. Otherwise, balance sheet will not make any sense. That equity ratio may be 3-to-1 right now, 2-to-1, 2-to-1, maybe 2-to-1. After you put this onto here, I don't think so. Question: how, as a financial analyst, how would you convert this into a operating the capital lease? That's our job. We have to convert this. Well, this is the extreme case. That's why I chose. But if you go to any airline company, they have, let's say, 20-30% here, 60-70% here on the average. This is the extreme case. Much less than 1%, right? Much less than 1%. Far less than 1%. Now, how we convert this into, which I can write here. Here, this is up to 2020, 5 years, and thereafter. In other words, this amount is thereafter. 2006, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 5 years of data, and then thereafter, and subtotal is this. So how much is total? How much is total they have to capitalize onto capital leases? Look at the last year. Look at the last year here, 365. I mean, they have 873, keep decreasing, 365, 2020. Thereafter 727, so total. So if you look at here, what's the best approximation of given disclosure? How much they will carry on operating leases? The last year here, this one divided by this one. In other words, you divide this by this, and we say that will be 5 years above, more than 5 years. In other words, 3876. If I do quick computation, 3876 divided by 727. 5 about 5.1. 5.4? 33? 5.3 years. Approximation. We don't know. They can terminate this and purchase a bunch of real estate. We don't know. Given their disclosure, best guess is they will have this 5.3. So 5.3 means you add 727, 5 more years here, 5 more years, left over, how much? What? 200, about 200. So 5 more, this spread out, 5 more years of this, and then left over this, and find out present value of this. What discount rate you are using? Bond rate. Bond rate. That's why you need bond rate. Best Buy, what bond rating they have? Triple B, double B plus, given their interest payment, we are using that rate as a discount rate. So you have 5 more years of data, and then find out present value of this here, discounted present value, and then you add them up to $52 billion and show them On the left-hand side as a lease asset, debt credit, right-hand side, capital lease obligation.
Double B minus.
Double B minus. The Best Buy now has junk bar. Used to be high fly, before, let's say 7 years ago, we never thought this would go this low. Double B minus is B, double B plus, double B minus. This is few notches down from a junk bond, and that, well, let's say we are using 7-8% or 5-6% depending upon current interest rate and discounting back, and you put that on the. So how financial analysts adjust their report? This is in your textbook. They report debt of $10 billion, Home Depot. Home Depot report $10 billion, but then after they capitalize all the operating leases, they add $5 billion extra debt. So their debt is actually how much from other adjustments? Instead of their reported amount of $10 billion, their debt is close to $16.7 billion of debt, actual debt. They say, according to GAAP, generally accepted accounting principle, we have only $10 billion debt. In substance, real debt, contingent liability, all these items adjusted, you have $16 billion, $16.7 billion debt. So if you compute debt equity ratio here, fine. Extra $6 billion of debt, this is your job. This page. And the way we are converting this each item, and I gave you how you convert, how you make journal entry for contingent liability depending upon probability, probable, possible, remote possibility. You make different accounting treatment, and you convert this debt, and then total, your financial analyst number is this, and this is GAAP amount, reported amount. Would you be surprised? From financial analyst point of view, financial ratio you compute using management provided the financial statement. The financial statement you are using now will understate most of the solvency ratios and liquidity ratios. Your job, when you compute, you pick up your annual report, go to footnote, read all these contingent items, operating leases. If they carry 7% of their lease on the operating leases, you have to convert them into capitalists, put them on here, and find out, use that amount and calculate new ratios. Otherwise, there's no difference between financial analysts and average users of financial statement outside. Make sense? This is how we convert a management prepared financial statement into a financial analyst reconciliation. Financial analyst adjusting amount. You might say, wait a minute, independent CPA, CFO, CEO sign off this. What do you mean? Yes, they sign off. They sign off this according to generally accepted accounting principles. Generally accepted accounting principle allows so much of flexibility, and they can avoid not any time longer for this item. Now they have to capitalize now, but this has been the practice for last 30, 40 years. Now, in order to avoid capitalists, you have to satisfy 4 conditions. That condition we have to know, because when you read the financial statement, the contract, they might have a strange contract. So what condition, what four conditions you must satisfy in order to avoid capitalism? If you satisfy any one of these four conditions, you have to use, in other words, if you can avoid all four of this, you can use operating lease. If your lease contract satisfies any one of these, capitalistic. So how come 99.9% of the time Best Buy satisfy all for this? I doubt it. I doubt it. What was the first condition? Yeah, you all know. It's been a while.
Like the useful life of the asset will be like 75%.
Useful life, 75% of the economic life of the lease asset. Then it has to be capitalist because you are leasing more than 3/4 of that asset life and you still say you are leasing, you are buying, actually. So it's a capitalist, 75% rule. Or present value, 90%. Present value of minimum lease payment is 90%. 90%. Guess what? Years ago, one of the company, SEC find out, one of the company structured this deal so that this could be 89.9%.
Yes.
Yes, never fails.
Oh, yeah.
89.9%. What else?
Bargain purchase.
BPO, lease contract contains BPO. BPO usually contains favorable purchase agreement. In other words, most likely under rational economic behavior, you will buy this asset, which is your asset, therefore capital is BPO, bargain purchase option. What else? For some contractual reason, title passes to lessee at the end of the period. For some reason, lessor will give this to lessee. If that is the case, if lease contract satisfies any one of this, then it has to be capitalist. So they structure lease deal to avoid all four conditions so that they can use operating leases. That's why they are having so much of operating leases, as we saw from Best Buy, Home Depot, and most of the capital intensive industry. But as we said, that's enough. You have to capitalize everything, and you should put those amounts on where? Balance sheet. Left hand side and right hand side. So this is the adjustment you have. And one of the items is this liability. The contingent liability must be added. Financial analysis university. They do master degree. Beyond undergrad, they read about 30 books, including one of the books in here. And they are handling billions and billions of client funds. After this program, you are as equally as qualified as those guys. Those people. Well, some of them have professional license and then some other special training, but that's after they got the job. They do in-house training to learn industry practices. Other than that, any question on capitalizing operating leases to capital leases. This is approximation.
I know IFRS is doing something with this now. Aren't they doing something? They're gonna start making all caps ops. They're moving to change.
Yeah. That's why.
I know IFRS is doing, they're doing something, but they're trying to get.
IFRS is a few steps ahead of the US GAAP. IFRS already capitalized operating leases as capital leases.
Right, they're moving to get everything on the balance sheet.
Stock option and this and all other accounting, US GAAP is lagging behind because of the law. Managers don't like it. This will ruin your income statement, EPS, pressure on stock prices. Option value will go down. Their compensation comes from options most of the time, and same story over and over again.
Oh, excuse me. Nope. Gotta go. Sorry.
Switch to your Verizon.
That was not the way. No, it is Verizon. It says AAA. No, I'm kidding.
Trade credit, we already know trade credit. This trade credit, different credit ordinance, you have different deals with companies. And now this area of your operation is very important to manage your balance sheet and income statement, because if you update, maintain credit worthiness of your client, 100,000, 200,000, that will minimize your bad debt expense, doubtful account expense. In other words, if you keep updating their financial situation, including their credit worthiness, that will decrease your bad debt expense, less pressure on the bottom line, and account receivable quality will go up. So this has to do with the quality of your financial reporting right away. And we'll see from actual company case. I don't think we have a case the time today, but we'll for sure go over the couple of actual company case with respect to this. Bank loan, well, there are many different bank loans. Client needs a balance with the media, the rules and regulation by bank regulation. Well, I'm sure some of the accountants are now compliance auditors. In other words, they go to job to make sure they follow the federal rules and all these guidelines. Especially after SOX and the Frank Dodd rule. This is a complex rule you have to satisfy. Revolving credit line. Revolving credit line. This is like whenever loan. This is the loan. Whenever you need, you go there. And usually, this has to do with the commercial paper. In other words, they need money to pay down commercial paper, and they pay back right away. And this is very important aspect of their liquidity position, because how much of a revolving credit line they have is important implication for their liquidity position. Line of credit. This is somehow misunderstood in many cases. Line of credit is this. Let's say you have $100 million line of credit, then you don't need to get permission. You are using up to $100 million without any notification. You can take out. So let's say you use 80 million, and then you pay interest on this 80 million you took out. But what about 20 million? There is a fee on this. Let's say I didn't use it. Well, bank must make sure $20 million also available, because they don't know when you take out this money. So you have to pay the fee for this unused line of credit. Line of credit, is it asset? No.
Well, cash is the asset, but then you have a liability.
Yeah, once you use this liability, so it's just flexibility, liquidity. But then it's not an asset. Asset definition is
Future economic.
future economic benefit. You must bring future economic benefit from present past economic transaction. This does not qualify to be asset. Misunderstood item. So this fee, the portion you didn't use, this is unused. Unused. Used. Yeah, used. You pay interest. Depending upon your credit rating, you pay interest on it. The fee, 20 to 50 basis points. Is it a lot of money? I say so. 20 basis points. How much is a 20 basis point? 0.2%, right? 0.2%. 100 basis point is 1%. 100 basis point. So 20 to 50 basis point for unused line of credit for peace of mind. They usually have Fortune 50 companies. They usually have billions, 1 billion, 2 billion with a group of bank. Now, if they have unused portion of, let's say, $1 billion, which is median amount, not extreme, low, middle size. Now, $1 billion, let's say, 20 basis points. 1 billion 20 basis points per year. How much? This is a 0.002, right? 1 billion. That will be how much? I don't know how many zeros are here. 9 zeros? Is it 2 million or 200,000? My eye. 2 million? Yeah. For just contingency, you don't have line of credit, so that will cost you, if this is the case, usually a couple billion, $3 million. That you should pay for piece of your contingency, for piece of mind. But this is they disclose in footnote carefully, and so that they know, outsiders, they know there is much less chance of liquidity crisis. How come they don't carry cash? I have this much line of credit. And this is, when you borrow money and textbook and they somehow, well, here, letter of credit, this is a LC. LC, we know LC. LC is used for international trade. This is a negotiable instrument. Now, bank in between, you don't know your importer in Saudi Arabia, you are exporting this pharmaceutical product, bank in between will arrange this payment, so they will pay to the bank will pay you for this export. So letter of credit is a correspondence between a importer and exporter, and in between bank will act as an intermediary and a charge fee for both sides, and this is a letter of credit. This is actually same as money. This is just like a treasury bill. This will be a negotiable instrument. What's the compensating balance? They didn't say this. Compensating balance.
The bank requires you a certain amount of money.
Say that again.
Because I understand, the bank requires you have a certain amount of money in the bank for their services and or a loan. For example, you have a $2 billion, $100 million loan. The bank may say, yeah, we want you to keep $1 million in the bank.
Exactly. In other words, this is the exactly described correctly, because if you borrow $100 million, we want to make sure you are paying interest and installment over time. So why don't you deposit $20 million with us? Therefore, you are borrowing actually $80 million. How much you pay interest on it?
You pay $100.
You pay interest interest on 100. In other words, if you borrow 10% interest rate, 10% interest rate, right? 10% interest rate is what? 10% interest per year will be $10 million. You have to pay this. But 10% on 80 million is what? $8 million. You are borrowing only this. Your interest, actual interest expense must be $8 million, but then you are paying $10 million. What is the actual effective interest rate? Face amount is 10 million, 10%, but then 10 million over 80 million. See? You are paying 12.5% will be your effective interest rate. In other words, you borrow 100 million at 10%. 20 million must stay all time during the period with the bank. Your effective interest rate is 12.5%.
What about
12.5?
I think it's on the deposit.
What if,
10 over 80? Yeah. Oh, okay, good.
I was just saying, what about the interest on the deposit though that you get?
Hmm?
The 20 million that's in the bank,
Yeah, in that you have to pay interest. Even if
you get interest on that, don't you?
Get interest?
Wouldn't you receive interest?
No, this is the compensating balance. In other words, this is not your money. This is not your money. You are borrowing, but then you have to deposit back 20 million all the time, and you are taking 80 million and paying interest on $100 million. So even if that is 110%, your effective interest rate is 12.5%. That's how they make money. So bank will keep $20 million all the time at bank? No, they will invest somewhere else.
The thing is, that's just wouldn't the bank say, like, you have to keep a $20 million demand deposit account, and we'll give you like some minimal, like 0.05%? That
What?
They won't give you any money for that money, right?
If
No, I'm just wondering.
those who need this kind of loan doesn't have a good credit rating.
Oh, so you're not gonna get it.
AAA firm, they don't borrow money much. So deal, if you look at the deal is this, whatever bank says. In other words, they will make sure you will keep this, $20 million bank without any compensating, without any. And then you are using 80 million. I guess, how much you have to make down the compensating balance is also functional with your credit rating.
They're gonna tap it.
If you have good credit rating, double A, triple A, I don't think bank will require a compensating balance much, even if they ask. Triple B, B minus, BB minus, yes. Risky. You're not sure whether you get semi-annual interest payment from this company. So compensating balance, that's why balance sheet, cash. Watch out for it. A lot of these cash is restricted. Board of directors restrict, set aside this cash to some other long-term capital expenditure. You can't touch this. Some of them can't compensating value. Some of them this amount. Even if they have millions of cashes, maybe sometimes they can't use that much. They can't use that much at one point. So we have to be very careful about how when we analyze a cash position, because they might not be able to use those cashes. Term loan, as opposed to installment loan. We know term loan and mortgage loan as opposed to debenture. What's the debenture? We all know accounting for installment loan and term loan. We do that, and we have to do one derivative contract here. I will do that next week. Derivative contract is here, fixed and floating. I am a parent company. Most of my subsidiary manufacturing subsidiary. My operating cash flow is a fixed. I am very comfortable with fixed payment of my debt. So you borrow 30-year fixed loan. That was 5 years. After merger and acquisition, my operating cash flow is floating. I acquire a financial institution and subsidiary, and my cash flow configuration has been changed over time. Now I need floating because this is a managing your right hand side of your balance sheet here. This is operating revenue. It was mostly manufacturing environment. Most of my subsidiary. So I need a operating expense, which is substantial part of that is interest. Right? Interest expense is fixed. So you commit 30-year a fixed loan. So you have margin of safety here. Margin of safety. It has been changed. That was 10 years ago. Now, what you have is, now your operating revenue is this. Very sensitive to market interest rate. Do you still want a 30-year loan? If you have a 30-year loan, you're fixed. No, you're stuck with 30-year loan. What happened this period here? Your expense is here. Operating revenue is this, and this is operating expense, for example. So this period, you report nothing but losses. See? Losses. Problem. Market hit prices and fluctuation and your job. You sign swap agreement with counterparty and say, you know what? I am stuck with 30-year loan. I've been paying this for 10 years. I have 20 more years to go. My operating revenue configuration has been changed. What I need is a floating interest rate. So from fixed to floating changes. You pay my fixed. Since you need fixed debt, your change is opposite. I want to pay floating, so that if that is the case, I'll have margin of safety as market moves. Margin of safety, margin of safety. This is the idea of covering your balance sheet. So we say this is the typical ABCs of a hedging instrument. Hedging instrument is covered. We have to do this actual computation. How they save money, why they do this, what institutional background this transaction has. Because if you dig into your footnote, I'm sure you will find out interest rate swap. Interest rate swap. We swap. This market is greater than a futures and options combined right now. The first transaction, 1980, was after 35 years, the market is greater than all the other derivatives combined. So this was interested either this has involved much more intensive discussion. We just can't say either floating or right. You should know how to change it. What impact this will have if I change from floating to fixed and fixed to floating. How come I don't have access to long-term debt market? Because if it is higher interest rate, the bank will charge higher for long-term because they are stuck with 30 years, 20 years fixed loan. as opposed to floating debt, which is a short term, a 3-year, 5-year rolling average. Much more, well, we'll do actual, well, this would be first derivative transaction with the rate. Derivative transaction is a transaction which is derived from notional product. Notional product, in this case, is a bond product. Bond payable, mortgage payable. You do not stop with a cash flow stream. You are not flexible, so you want to go with the market, and that's why they do these transactions. And they will report interest rate swap transactions on your footnote if they have. So that will be another discussion we need to do. Non-bank, private equity fund, which has expertise, experience in the industry, yes, and creatively structured loan repayment may act as a management consultant. This is part of that is white knight fund to lease financing. We did this after the repayment. Now, we now should be able to dissect this financial footnote on leases and either operating or a capital or financing sales these transactions. Now, here, short-term borrowing resources, under SEC regulation, which can be 9 months, commercial paper, 9 months. And this is what you need for the, why you need revolving credit lines, we say revolving credit line, because in order to get the payment between commercial paper to commercial paper, you need this loan, a temporary loan, and that is a revolving credit line. Short term, most of the company has this commercial paper for short term financing. Debenture usually has higher interest rate because this is the borrowing without mortgage. This is a purely paid bond period, as opposed to other mortgage bond. Mortgage bond, you still have the mortgage against the money you are borrowing. So it's a safer loan. So they don't pay much interest because it's a safe. Not much risk, much return. So debenture, no risk. No mortgage, so higher risk, higher interest paid. And we all know this bond accounting, amortization of premium and the discount, which would not change. History, the cost plus minus amortization will not change. That is the way it is. Bond structure. See how much, well, this is usually, prime example, this is how much am I losing making this loan is percentage, probability of a default, a loss given default, size of the loss if what? This prime example for this is Bank of America. About it was early 1990, late 1980s. They were having huge trouble with the South American loan. Remember, now they have a very shaky financial situation in Brazil and other part of the South America. But back then, Argentina was facing default. Huge mess. Bank of America, at one point, they had to say that expense of 800 million. This is a one-time item. This is only one time. They made several transactions, and New York Times article show detailed account, not in this format, but they show impact on financial statement. That's an allowance for doubtful account for credit loan, here $800 million. Then, chances of default. You have to assess the chance of default. 20%, 30%. So this acquire this a portfolio 10%, 20%. You have $1 billion of loan in each different category. 30%, 50%. You multiply that by size of losses if they default, and at the end of the item here, if you add them up, putting them all the way down, at one point, Bank of America journal entry for that quarter, only for that quarter. Yeah, but Bank of America, they can absorb this. But this is the only one loan from one country back then. I don't know how much more they recognize. This was the New York Times article I still remember from that era. And well, this is the same as assigning allowance for the outflow account. Your aging schedule will show a fresh account receivable, 1 to 30 days overdue, 31 to 60, 61 to 90. You multiply percentage of uncollectible account, and the total amount will be debit, bad debt expense, credit, allowance for the outflow account. That is safe. I did the same. But this is a more larger scale because this is the operating liability. This is non-operating. Size of the loan will be a much higher than a operating liability. See, credit raters. They were having a lot of trouble in 2007, 2008 because people blamed Standard & Poor's and Moody's and Fitch for giving out too generous grades, too easy credit. So now people say, who's gonna rate this rating agency? So there is a group of wealthy individuals who try to rate, setting up an institution to. Their job is to rate these credit rating agencies. They are powerful people. If they downgrade one notch for US debt, US Treasury debt, from AAA, they downgrade one notch. See what happens. US government turn around, sue S&P, and fine $5 billion. And S&P says this is revenge for the credit rating we assigned, which is one notch lower than AAA. No, you did something terribly wrong in that crisis, and they hire, let's say, if you go to movie office in downtown New York City, like right beside the New York City Hall, they hire several hundred accounting finance PhDs and several again CPAs, CFAs. They do nothing but analyzing the financial statements and making this assigning credit rating to this. Why some firms, they never borrow money, why some firms voluntarily pay millions of dollars and ask these guys to come in and assign grade? Isn't it a waste of time and money? You want to spend millions of dollars and you don't borrow money? Why? If you don't borrow money, why you need a credit rating? Why?
Maybe customers. They want to know they got a rock solid supplier.
Exactly. Signal. Spending $5-6 million, for example, to get AAA credit rating, good credit rating, is worthwhile because positive reaction on stock prices will be several times higher than money you're spending on credit rating. Signal. They didn't understand why these guys spending that kind of money, and during that time they will come to your office and ask for all the documentation. But after that, there's really nice to say S&P 800 stock market jump based upon 8-10%. So that's the one signaling mechanism. Good rating company who never borrow, they never borrow, but still get a credit rating. We'll see. Graph is coming up. There is lobbying going on here. We'll talk about that when we. No, it's the same. It's the same. Now, investing, as we say, they investing in common stock will have upside potential is unlimited. Downside risk is also unlimited up to your investment. Yeah. And use everything. But here, idea here is, yes, you need analysis, but then given risk we saw from S&P rating data, you will get a return every 6 months, but you still need a credit analysis because you are talking about sizable amount of credit loan to this. So nature, purpose, size of the loan. Why you need for? Are you covering your operating losses? Are you using for cash dividend? Macroeconomic environment, industry condition. This industry is saturated, and typical industry in this country will be garment industry, shoes industry, a steel industry. You will have a really hard time to argue for fresh loan because foreign import will dominate. They dominate this market. If you say I will make a capital investment in this country, chances are not that good to get a fresh loan because they already know, bank already know macroeconomic environment and many other industries, manufacturing industry, financial analysis and prospective analysis, making projections for a. Now this is same that we talk about. Say possible loan used is cyclical cash flow need, that bridge loan, temporary ongoing operating losses, temporary ongoing capital expenditure, and reconfigure capital structure. Well, how you reconfigure capital structure? For example, you are asking $1 million to reconfigure capital structure. What kind of transaction reconfiguration you are talking? Yeah, debt. In other words, debt and equity. Now, capital structure means combination of debt and equity. Let's say I wanna buy back my stock with this $1 million. That equity ratio will change capital structure. Capital structure will be reconfigured with that kind of loan. And so either way, you change the debt or equity or both, that would be, say, you have to have a porous fiber analysis. Industry competition, buyer power, supply power, and we'll deal with this with a delicate debt. Porous fiber, substitution and entry. This is another proxy for competition. If there is severe competition, that will drive their operating margin down to greater thing. And in order to survive, they have to increase their turnover. Would they be able to maintain that turnover over the near-term, long-term basis? All these type of analysis, financial analysis, what? Only permanent items, operating, excluding all non-operating. Consider items that may distort a operation. Distort. We saw some of the items already today. Would you? This is the first time we're soon as you input the data, second tab of your valuation spreadsheet will give you this kind of data. And item, one-time item. So this is a Home Depot annual, Home Depot annual. So this is your their reporting. This is adjusted credit analysis, adjusted their financial item, and they have slightly different numbers, slightly less earnings, slightly less gross profit after adjusting. So no PAC, which is the we talked about module 3, no PAC. This tax expense, non-operating expense, financial expense, net. We are adding this expense, the tax rate, add them up, subtract over from here, because this you must subtract because that reduce the taxable income. So you have to now add that to find out net operating profit after tax. So that will be a NOPAT and our NOA will be computed from here. So what is the difference between our NOA and ROE? Once again, looking at the formula, we see bar graph, but what's the difference between these represents? You going back to that formula we talked last time and today. What's the difference between ROE and our NOA?
It just considers the operating components.
Yes, this is the only operating component. This is total. So this difference is
No.
non-operating financial leverage effect. In other words, Home Depot financial leverage effect for 2013 is big compared to here. They are growing. Yeah, they are growing. Our NOA, ROE growing. But this much is coming from by taking on debt, by taking company in risky position, which is higher the debt position, which is highly leveraged position. So this is nothing but difference is financial leverage. Financial leverage is financial leverage and operating spread. If you multiply these two items, you will get this. See, years ago, this is times interest on, another name for times interest on, another name, more commonly used, interest coverage ratio, interest coverage ratio, EBITDA coverage ratio, and cash flow from to total debt, free operating cash flow to total debt. Years ago, in Minnesota, we don't go out, 30 days of zero outside, so we stay inside. So there, faculty stay inside, drink coffee all the time, talk about politics. That's why dean cannot survive more than 3 years. It's a funny place. They from 9 to 5, they stay campus Monday to Friday, nowhere else to go. Because campus is the only safe and warm place. We sat down and say, we have Gillian's ratio. Why don't we come up with only one number which tells all the ratios? Let's say pick one number, we compute one number, and if this one number is close to 1, then 1 is perfect, and let's find out this ratio. So, one number, so 3 of us, I didn't involve much of politics, because back then I was thinking about getting out of cosplay. So instead of that, I was thinking about a research here with 2 of my colleagues. This is a financial statement analysis, a DEA, data development analysis approach. Now, we are at the corner of Lake Superior, the refrigerator. We see Lake Superior is the refrigerator. somewhere on top of the hill, 100 degrees. So for one month, 1 week or so, 100 degrees, 95, 100. As you driving down to the lake area, I can feel the temperature was up, and you can't go into the lake because it's too cold. It's the ice water. Up there, 100 degrees, and the around the lakeside, 65, 70 degrees. Now he went to Washington. Ray is from that area. Ray likes that area. He likes it. Ice fishing, hunting, and all this. So he retired to North Dakota instead of Florida. So we said, part of my work done while I was in Singapore, so I will support my office space and system, so I recognize and knowledge we made. Why don't we compute one number here, one number, and this one number will tell you exactly how healthy this company is, instead of computing group of ratio, profitability about this many ratios, efficiency, liquidity, solvency. If you look at group of ratio, you can come up with hundreds of ratios. We say this is too much. Let's find out one number for one company and will exactly tell you how healthy this company is. Well, we are lucky to publish this article, but it was not widely accepted because each different people need ratios for their own purpose. Just not only one overall index for financial status. They need for a credit, they need for investment, they need for some other purpose. It is cited in research, but not used widely in practice. My co-author here actually gave his article to this Washington D.C. U.S. patent office, and Minnesota paid $3,000 to their patent, but it was not successful in the application because of the limitation of the application. So what I remember back then is we just keep talking about this over the coffee. And my goal is spend at least one semester before I retire back there. Really, really nice place. Yes, it's cold, but it's a really nice place. So this is a flow, a coverage. How many times operating income covers your interest expense? Okay, how many times? Well, usually 3-to-1, 4-to-1 is a safe ratios, the coverage ratio. Interest coverage ratio less than 2-to-1, considered risky because you don't want to pay half of your operating income to interest expense. 3-to-1 is on the average. 4-to-1 considered to be good, but it also depends upon your industry membership because this interest coverage ratio would be very low for some utility industry. EBITDA coverage ratio. Why this is different from other ratios? Well, they are adding back to depreciation and amortization. So this ratio would be much higher than EBIT coverage ratio because you are adding these to your numerator. Cash flow operation to total debt. Well, approximation of how healthy your debt position is and how healthy your operating cash flow to pay down your debt. Free cash flow, your total debt, how much cash is left after replacing all the aging assets, times interest on, which is interest coverage ratio. ability to pay your interest expense out of operating income. Well, only interest expense because we finance with this principal dollar amount, so this will pay you. Make sure you add that interest. Add that. Earnings before tax and interest. So you have to add that interest here for interest coverage ratio. EBITDA ratio. You add that depreciation and amortization. Remember, this is typical example of pro forma ratio. Pro forma. Pro forma. What do I mean by pro forma? Approximation. What does it mean? Pro forma. Pro forma. As if pro forma. In other words, this is non-GAAP ratio. Company say our EBIT ratio is low because we have a huge investment in brand new asset which will bring huge depreciation expense to income statement, and that's why our expense is low. So since this brand new asset will have extra cash flow, if we add back depreciation and amortization, if we add back pro forma, then our EBITDA is really good. EBITDA ratio is really good. Pro forma. Warren Buffett never buy into concept of pro forma. This is according to some of the Wall Street slang. Pro forma EPS on the pro forma is EPS on per share. Pro forma EPS is EPS. So everything but best number, including all these strange numbers, and they say if this happened, this would be my figure. But that is not allowed in GAAP. Replacing all the assets is a genuine expense. Yeah, well, EBITDA coverage ratio, interest expense, we're adding that much higher ratio. So interest coverage ratio, EBITDA, difference is also this one. Earnings before interest and tax, depreciation, amortization. So this is depreciation and amortization difference. This is the interest coverage ratio times interest on. This is the EBITDA ratio. So difference is these two, depreciation and amortization. Cash flow to total debt. Again, this is how many times cash flow from operation covers total short-term debt and long-term debt. Try to measure the ability to pay long-term debt down over time. So in this case, free CapEx 5-year average, capital expenditure 5-year average, take out, and then this is free to use. Some of them, some cash dividend, but this is the conventional ratio, free to use. After you replacing aging asset, how much cash is left and how much of that will cover your total short-term and long-term debt. So operating cash flow to that and free cash flow, so that is, again, capital expenditure. This difference is capital expenditure. Well, unless you invest, you're not going to replace the aging asset, you're not going to survive, therefore, a operating cash flow to that will make more sense than this one in practice. Liquidity, short-term measure, usually solvency, long-term measure. How much you will have, short-term, how much is expected, how much can you raise in short notice, the short-term thing. Long-term financial health, obligation to creditors, including to lessors. We all know current ratio. Once again, that's good for one day. That's a problem, one day. If you subtract numerator minus denominator and the working capital. Now, that covenant used to use working capital. In other words, for the next 5 years, you have to maintain X million dollar working capital as part of that covenant. Now, they say free cash. This is subject to a manipulation, current assets and current liability. So more and more a bank use the free cash flow when they do these